Right, we're recording, so that's good. Okay, so hopefully you can all see the screen. Like I said, I'm going to use 2021 version. If you haven't used that yet, when you open it through Citrix, it will ask you to put your email address in. So you just put in your school email address. It does look a little bit different until you open something, but that CS4 version is going to be obsolete eventually. So if you can still open that one and you want to do it in that version, that's fine. But just make sure you save it as a Photoshop file or as a JPEG, and we should still be able to open it in the new one. It's just at some point it is going to disappear, so we need to get into the habit of using this one. It's exactly the same. The only thing is some of the tools have moved around a little bit, so but I'll show you where they are this morning. Okay, so this is what we're aiming for. A4 piece of pattern, so it looks a little bit like a piece of gift wrap from one of your photographs. So let's make a start then. So you're going to go to File and Open. I'll start again from the beginning. So I've just put 3 of my photos in the Resources folder. So just remember, yours are all in the Objects project, because remember you worked in pairs, and there's absolutely loads there as well, so you will have to go through them and see which ones are yours. I know you've got them all printed off, but obviously pick your favourite. Okay, so I've just put 3 of mine in to the Resources folder. So if you want to be able to see your photographs, if you click on this little icons box here, you can go to large icons and then you can see your photos. Okay, so I've done the one with the shells, so I'll do that one again just so you can see how I've got to, where I've got to on the screen. Right, if there's any questions during this, I'm not constantly looking at the projector, so you shouldn't be in the chat anyway, all right, but unmute yourself and ask me a question. If it freezes at any point, also tell me, because my screen won't freeze, but it might just be a technology issue. If that happens, then leave the meeting and go back to and I'll readmit you, and it should solve it, because that worked the other day. Okay, so here's my shells photograph. It's on a black piece of card, as you can see. So we need to select all of that black, all right, and actually get rid of it, because we want to make a really funky coloured background, all right. So we've got our background layer there, so I always just unlock it so we can do stuff with it. Now the magic wand is the 4th tool down. Now if it doesn't look like that and it looks like that, okay, that's just because it's underneath it. Okay, so it's the 4th tool down in the toolbox, and it's the last one on the selection. It actually says magic wand tool. Now what the magic wand does is it selects every single pixel. Remember, your digital images on screen are made up of pixels that are exactly the same colour. Okay, so if I, up here, you can see there's a tolerance box. Now, it might be that when you open this and you use it for the first time, it says 100, okay? So it's going to pick up all the tones of the same colour. So that's actually selected nearly everything. It hasn't just selected the background, all right? It's selected parts of the shell as well that are quite dark, which is a bit of a pain. So I'm going to deselect that with Control and D. And what I'm going to do now, again, if you've got a white background, some of you photographed on red, various different colours, it's the same principle. We're trying to select as much of the background as we can without physically going around every single object with the rubber, which is actually very tedious and very, very fiddly. So I'm going to just reduce the tolerance a little bit. So I'm going to try 80, and I'm going to click again on the background and just see what that picks up. Now that is still picking up a bit of the shadow and a bit of this shell here, which is actually quite dark. So again, I'm going to deselect it with Control and D. And I'm going to try it at 50. Let's see if that makes a difference. There we go. So that's now still picking up some. All right, so let's go back to maybe 60. So it's a bit of trial and error. You might find you do it first time. Right, okay. So I'm going to select it at that to start with, and I'm going to have to draw around the bits, okay, that I don't want. So it's still got like a little bit of that shell there. Look, it's not selected all the background down here. This mussel shell down here is obviously quite dark blue and dark grey, so it's selected some of that, and it's still selecting quite a lot of this sort of bobbly one here, which is like a dark purple. So to solve that, we're going to use the lasso tool. Now this is something that you'll use quite a lot when you're making selections and you're drawing around, you know, faces and things when we do that project in year 11. So to make life easier, the lasso tool allows you to draw and make selections. Okay, but I tend to use the polygonal, okay, it's a big word, lasso tool, okay. So if you click on that one, it just makes drawing around things a little bit easier, particularly as it's not like, you know, using a mouse is not like drawing with a pencil. Okay, now on this one, you can see where the tip of that arrow is, that's where the tool actually works from. Now, at the moment, I've got all of that background selected, okay. I haven't got all of it, and I've got some of my shells. So if I was to press delete, I'll just show you. Okay, it's deleting some of my photo, which I don't want. So we need to make sure that we've actually just got the background selected. If you want to include the shadows, that's entirely up to you. All right, so let's just go back to what I had before. There we go. So I'm going to draw around, for example, this little bit here. So I can zoom in. I'll zoom in so that you can see what I'm doing a little bit more in case you're using a small screen. So let's zoom in down here. So I'm going to use that little tool. If I put my finger on the shift key, all right, I get a little plus next to it. Hopefully you can see that. I'll do it here on that white shell so it lights up a bit more. If I use the Alt key, I get a minus next to it. Okay, so if I want to add to my selection, okay, which is adding to the background, I'm going to use the Alt key, the Shift key, and it's going to do a plus. If I want to remove things from the selection, so I don't want this bit of shell selected, I don't want that bit of shell selected, I'm going to use the minus key. Okay, so what happens is I'm going to use the top of the arrow and I'm just going to draw, and it basically pulls a line, and I can just click really carefully, and I can accurately then draw around that shell. If I tried to do it freehand, it would be incredibly wobbly. And when you get back to where you started from, a little circle appears. Okay, so you've got to sort of concentrate and think about where it is that you started from. So now that's got rid of that bit of shell. I need to get in this bit of background. Okay, so I'm going to put my finger on the Shift key and I'm going to quickly draw in those bits. Selected, and I've got back to where I've started from. So I'm going to quickly try and do most of this without it taking up too much time. So I'm going to draw around here because I need all of this background selected and it hasn't selected all of it. So again, I'm just drawing, clicking a little bit at a time as I go around. Go off the page. I'm shadowing actually. So let's just draw around that bit. Photograph's well lit and you're quite lucky, you might actually select most of it anyway. It might not be too much of a problem. Some of you might have quite a bit to do. Now I started somewhere here, where's it gone? Okay, so I don't want this bit of shell in there because if I delete that then part of my shell is going to disappear. I don't want that to happen. A bit with the pressing the Alt key because I don't want that. I do want these bits of background. Like I said, this is very fiddly, but it's something that you will use quite a lot of. Now, this shell is a bit messed up as well, so let's get rid of some of that because I don't want to delete my shell. I just want to delete my background. So I'm going to quickly draw around those bits. Where I started from, which is over here somewhere. Okay. So Control and 0, I can see where else I need to draw around. So I need to draw around this bit. So I've got some of that shell and that's going to disappear, which is going to make my photograph look really weird. That shell's missing. So this sort of selection process you'll use a lot of, particularly when you're getting rid of backgrounds of things. But also it's just learning to control the mouse, which I know you might find very frustrating to start with. But when we do things like airbrushing faces, you know, if you've taken a photograph of somebody and there's a blemish on the face, we can airbrush. But again, it's really careful mouse control. So it's basically just learning to draw with the mouse, which, like I said, is fiddly. But the more you do it, the better you get at it. It's just like anything else. Practice, practice, practice. Now this shell is very fiddly to draw around. So again, just lots of little lines, clicking around as we go. Frozen yet, have I? Is it still working okay? Speak to me. Try and be as quick as I can here so that you're not losing the will to live. Started from, which was here somewhere. Double click. Right, just got this bit here. I can just do big lines there back to where I started from. Again, I want some of this backgrounding because it's vanished. So quickly draw around all those little fiddly bits. What else have we got? A few bits there. You you see how down here under this bit it hasn't selected at all? So let's just go back to the magic wand, and I'm going to just make the tolerance a little bit lower. And I put my finger on the shift key, and again I get a plus sign. Look, let's just see if we can select. Yeah, we can select those bits. Look, perfect. Right, so that's pretty much all of it selected without any of my shells going to disappear. And I have got a few little niggly bits here, but again, you can pop your finger on the magic wand and the shift key, or we can draw around it quickly, just so that we haven't got any annoying little black dots on our funky background. Okay, so that is how we select the background. I've still got that shell up there, look, just noticed. Oh, go away you. Thank you. And then we can press delete. And we should have nothing then, we should just have fresh air. Okay, so I'm going to press delete, background gone. Okay, so now I can deselect that. All right, are we still okay? Right, Abby, I need you to get off the chat, please, and concentrate. Okay, so we now need a new layer behind so that we can play around with the backgrounds. So we'll go to the little top right corner of the layers box, click new layer. Okay, we'll call it background just to make life easier. Okay, the background needs to be the background, so make sure it's underneath your objects, whether they're marbles, sweets, or whatever they are. Okay, so we're going to use the gradient tool, which is this one. All right, and you might not want to use the gradient tool. You can just use the paint bucket if you want a completely solid colour. All right, so if you use the paint bucket and you pick your colour, so remember your colours are at the bottom of this little your toolbox. Okay, so at the minute I've got purple. If I click that, I've now got a purple background. Okay, so I'll just go back and Z. If you want the gradient tool, which is the little box that goes from like black to white, okay, you need two colours because you want it to fade from one to the other. All right, so we could do, just draw a line. All right, and it will fade from a dark purple to a dark blue. If you want to go lighter, then just change your colours again. And again, you can go in any direction. You can have a gradient corner to corner, you can have a gradient top to bottom, right to left, etc. Whatever you want. Okay, so that's that. So what you're going to do is you're going to choose a background colour on one. And what you're then going to do with the whole image is you're going to flatten it. So now it's one picture again with a purple background. And we need two versions so that you can create a bit more of a checkerboard pattern. So the easiest thing to do, I mean, you can change the hue saturation, which you know how to do, but I quite like inverting it, so it makes it look a bit like a negative. So if you go to image adjustments and invert, all right, your objects kind of turn into a negative, and obviously you get the opposite colours on the colour wheel appearing in your background. So you need to save both versions of those. All right, so once you're happy with your photo, save them. So file, save as, save on your computer. Okay, so I'll just call it one, save, okay, and again I can just go to the objects that I did before, do invert, there we go, so I can save that one as well. So now I've got two of the same picture, different colourways, background's gone, it's now slightly more funky. So I'll call that one and I'll call that one two, there we go. So when we did the alphabet, we created a new page, so we want a new page. All right, now remember, size of A4 is 21 wide, 30 high. Okay, I would make your resolution about these photographs, because you've taken them with the digital cameras, are really, really big. So if you don't have a decent size resolution, they're going to copy and paste massive, okay, which can be really frustrating. So we'll create a white background. There we go. So what we need to do then is go back to our photographs. Okay, so we select all. So Control and A. Or we can go to select and all. I'll do it the long way around so you can see. Edit, copy, onto our new page, edit, paste. Okay. Control and T, remember, is our free transform. And obviously shrink it to quite small, really. I'm going to move that up into the top corner. Now remember, with a few of your alphabets, there was some very slight white gaps in between each letter as you layered them up, so just get into the habit of really zooming in. So we want the rulers, make sure the snap is off, and I'm going to drag myself a ruler to underneath that photograph. So I'm going to go back to number 1, which I haven't got open, so I'll just do that. Where is it? 1, there we go, open. Again, select all, copy, paste that one on there, Control and T, resize it, all stuff you know how to do already. So this is the easy bit because this is stuff we've already know how to do, and it's, like I said, it's just lining it up. So really zoom in and make sure you've got no white bits. Now, you're thinking, oh God, I've got to do this for every single picture. No, you haven't. There's an easier way. Okay, now what you can do, look, in your layers box, I need another 2 of those. All right, I'm just going to make sure that is slightly bigger. Let me just zoom in a minute and see what I'm doing. Okay, so a little bit bigger at the top there. There we go. Right. And the line. So really zoom in and make sure you haven't got any annoying little white bits between each of your images. Now, what we can do is if we unselect the background so we can't see it, and then go to your top corner of your layers box. If you go to merge visible, that now has merged those 2 as one layer, look. So all I need to do now, all the time, is I can just duplicate the layer. So again, click on there, duplicate layer. Okay, I've got another one. I can drag that across. Okay, and boom. Now, what you can do is you can duplicate it again. So it depends how I would maybe go for a slightly offset pattern, just so you haven't got the same colour directly underneath one another. So maybe I'm kind of using the middle of that spiky shell to help me line that up. So I'm going to create 2 lines. So I'm going to duplicate it again. Oops, no, not delete it, wrong one. Duplicate layer. Okay, so I can quickly, and I'm going to do it one more time because I've got a gap at the other side. There we go. So really quickly, without all that copying and pasting and resizing, just make sure I've got that lined up there. Brilliant. Okay, now what I need to do is the same thing again. I need to merge all those together. So top of the layers box, click it, merge visible. I've now got 1 layer. I can duplicate that layer and drag it underneath. So really quickly, I'm getting a repeat pattern. It's dead quick, dead easy. I'll do that again now. And before you know it, I've got a whole page of repeat pattern, which looks pretty cool. Do it one more time. So some of these are going to look great. Taking pictures of marbles and sweets and all sorts, and you know, pencils in a spiral. So if you've deliberately set up a geometric pattern, this will look really, really cool. Once you've done that, then you can flatten it, and then you can save it as a JPEG. Just call it pattern in your folder, and we can print them when we get to school. Okay, or if you get it done before the end of the week, then I can print them for you if you email me. Right, what you do need to do, and what I haven't done on here because it would have taken too long, is remember to take some screenshots. So all you need to do is take a screenshot of when you're doing your magic wand bit, when you're doing the gradient, okay, and then as you're starting to build your pattern, just a couple. You don't need loads and loads, okay, but obviously at the key points. So the magic wand, the lasso, the gradient tool, the inverting, if that's how you choose to change the colour, or the hue saturation, and then a couple of screenshots from your building up your layers. Whoops, wrong one. Okay, to show you how you've got that pattern. So screenshots are really important, don't forget those. So again, it's just print screen, open a Word document, paste them in there, okay, and we can print those off. So I'm just going to stop sharing then and go back to the Teams. Has anybody got any questions? Right, Abby, you seem to be doing a lot of chin wagging in the chat and probably not watching what you're doing, okay, which is not helpful. So I'm just going to stop recording.